Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Marvel Legends Mindless One Build-A-Figure Wave Marvel Knights Marvel's Blade. And a lot of you guys in the comments have been telling me how bad this figure is. Just wait until you review Blade, they keep saying. And I don't know what the problem is exactly. I mean, it has flaws. Many of them are the same flaws that Marvel Legends almost always have, and a few that are fairly common, but there's a lot about this figure that's actually pretty good. So it's interesting to me. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if people just think, oh, it's Anthony, he hates Marvel Legends. That's not the case at all. I want them to be good. When they're bad, I talk about it because it's my job to review figures, but also I give constructive criticism because I want the line to be better. And when they release something good, I'm happy. I want to collect Marvel Legends. I want to enjoy the figures. And when I can, it's a good thing. So we'll see as we go through the review. I mean, I know one thing people talked about is kind of an issue, but we're going to talk about all of it. There's a lot to like about this figure, so stick around. So let's go ahead and get this guy off the stand and take a closer look. All right, before we get into the figure, let's take a look at my package. It is the best Marvel Legends packaging we've seen in a long time. These Marvel Knights, the coloring of it, it all just goes together very nicely. It's very good packaging. I quite like it. There's a drawing of Blade. I don't like that drawing of Blade. There's something really weird about the face. I know what it is. His head is humongous from the eyes up. Really weird. Really strange perspective on that head sculpt, or head drawing, but I don't care for that. Also, how are his glasses connected? What's happening in this artwork? Is this from a comic? Or is this for the packaging? What is going on here? It's very weird. Okay, alright, that's enough of that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the figure. We'll do height first, that's what we always do, so I don't forget. This guy stands almost exactly 16.5 centimeters. That's going to make him roughly, well, just shy of 6.5 inches. Here he is up against a Darwin. I think that's probably a good sculpt. I don't know the most about Blade, though I've always liked the character. I don't know, I'm guessing he's probably about average large. Like, not extra tall, just not small, not average normal, average large. Okay, so size-wise seems good. Okay, question of the day. Which MCU, doesn't have to be officially part of the MCU, I don't think Blade was originally, maybe he was, I don't know. I mean, he came out way before. Anyway, which live-action Marvel adaptation do you think is the best characterization of a character? For me, I would argue that Wesley Snipes' Blade easily rivals Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. I think it is grossly undervalued in terms of comic book movies. The movie's old and dated, sure, and the second one was questionable, the third one was kind of garbage, but his portrayal of the character is among the absolute best of comic book character portrayals that have ever happened in live action, if you ask me. Okay, so let's take a look at this figure. Aesthetically speaking, it's a little plasticky, but he's wearing a lot of leather, so I don't mind as much. There is some variation in the plastic. The armor is textured. I'm thinking it's actually a different color also from the jacket. The jacket is all pretty uniform, kind of a satin black plastic look. The armor is slightly gray, it looks like. Does have the pitting on it. Pants are gray, boots are black. It's not bad looking. The belt does have the painted silver on there, that's okay. Painted arms match the hands well enough. It's not perfect, but it's okay. I think the super fat forearms that we saw, I think, what were they on Havoc originally? They work okay for Blade. Because the way this Blade is made, it is very much in the comic vein. It has a little bit more style to it than a lot of Marvel Legends. They're still too big. The forearms are still too big. And it gives them kind of like a short arm look, even though they're not short. But I don't mind it, and I think once you pose them, it's going to look better than being scrawny. The head sculpt, let's talk about that. This head sculpt is easily one of the best Marvel Legends head sculpts, probably of all time. It's wonderful, and it's very well executed. The mouth parts are separate that are pushed in from behind. You can see, well, maybe you can't. Yeah, you can. There's a separate piece of plastic in there. That's so that they can not have the undercuts for molding purposes, but it's painted very cleanly. The teeth, the gums, the goatee, the glasses, the hair. This is a wonderful, wonderful head sculpt. I wish he came with one that wasn't like this, but being Blade, I don't mind it as much. You could see his neutral face looking something like this. I think that's okay. It's a very, very well done head sculpt, and that does a lot for a figure. The one thing I don't like is the way they did the hair. There's a mold line right in the middle, right where it peaks, and it looks a little bit weird, but that's not super noticeable if you're not reviewing the figure, so I don't mind it. I think this jacket is new. I could be wrong. Someone can correct me. Now that they're intermixing parts from like the movie figures and stuff, it's hard for me to say for sure, but either way, it suits him well, and the red is painted well enough on the inside. It looks fine. It looks pretty good. He does have the scabbard on his back. The figure definitely could have more paint. We have some details here that aren't painted, and maybe like the belt and the knee pad and, you know, things like that. Some of the details on the boots, which are sculpted pretty well. They could be painted, of course, but we do have a lot of nice detail work on there. And then, of course, like I said, we have the scabbard, which holds his sword, which we'll get to later. I think it looks pretty damn good. People are complaining that you can't get his arms down, and he came like this in the package, and you can't get him any lower than that. If you lift up a little bit on the shoulder, like push this way, as you push in, you can get the arms in a little bit more. And frankly, like, that's not exactly a T pose or even an A pose. They're down far enough. I don't have as much of a problem with that as a lot of people seem to. Especially since he's a comic book character, it's unlikely you're going to need his arms to go directly straight down, straight vertical up and down. It's not necessary in most cases. Is it better to have that? Sure. But I think this is definitely acceptable, especially for Marvel Legends standards. I mean, come on. Some of the people that are telling me how bad this figure is praise other ones that are kind of garbage. So to me, this is, like, for Marvel Legends standards, perfectly acceptable. I think this looks pretty darn good. Of the recent figures that have been released, this is a better looking figure than most. It's going to look way better on a shelf. The sculpt work is mostly really good. The forearms, again, are questionable, but I think well enough. They'll be okay enough to hide. I can't speak English anymore. But yeah, I think it looks pretty damn good. For Marvel Legends, this is at least an 8. It could use more paint, but I want to say because of that good head sculpt, whoever sculpted that, good on you. And whoever painted it, obviously it was machines and maybe a combination of people, but most likely machines. Good on you. I'm going to give this guy a 9 out of 10 for the aesthetic. It's definitely one of the better releases in a long time. By a lot. Okay, as for accessories, we actually got some accessories this time, though questionable. First of all, we have his Ninjato, which is a straight-bladed katana, usually a little bit shorter. No actual historical evidence that they existed, but they do exist, at least nowadays. That's not the blade is supposed to have, right? Doesn't he have a unique sword, or is that not a thing in the comics? I mean, I've only seen the movies, I haven't read the comics, but I've seen artwork, and even the artwork on the packaging shows a unique blade, a double-edged, like a dagger type of blade, but a big sword version of it. So that's kind of irritating, but maybe he just had a regular Ninjato in the comics too. I don't know. I don't love this plastic that they're using for the metal here, but whatever. It's okay. So you get that. It does go in his his sheath. Well enough, that's fine. You get his 2 curvy S-blades that you can throw, or he can throw. You could throw them too if you want to. They, again, look like the sword, so the colors are questionable, but they're there. You get these chocolate-covered carrots. I don't know what that's about exactly. I guess because his mouth is open, maybe they gave him snacks. It's hard for me to say, but you do get those. And then for hands, he comes with the 2 fist hands on him in the package, and then you get 2 gripping hands. I think that's good enough. It's technically 5 separate weapons, even though it's only 3 separate sculpts. Some alternate hands, like, that's pretty darn acceptable. I would like an alternate head too. Maybe some guns, but I think this is plenty. I'm okay with this. I'm very okay with this. If every Marvel Legends had this amount of accessories, I would be okay with that. I would prefer more, and maybe some would have more, but this is fine. I'm gonna go 8 out of 10 for accessories. It's a pretty good spread. They could look a little nicer, so that's why it's only an 8, but I'm okay with it. Definitely okay with it. All right, as for articulation, the head, oh gosh, Hasbro, freaking Hasbro. Why are they still doing this? It's a new sculpt. Have they used this torso before? It looks vaguely familiar from like a previous Blade or someone else. Maybe not, I don't know. But regardless, can we get some double ball pegs that actually function? This hinge ball peg is so dated and crappy. I don't care if some people say it's better, it's actually not. But he can look up and down. He has a little bit of a lollipop and his head could sit a little bit lower, but it's okay. The head's also slightly big still, but it's hard to notice because of the jacket. But yeah, it could be a little bit better. But as far as the hinged ball pegs go, this one works well enough. It's perfectly acceptable, just not desirable. Double ball peg would be so much better. Okay, for the shoulders. Do they not go up? I don't remember on Havoc if they don't go up. If they don't go up, that really sucks. Okay, so they don't go up and they don't go all the way down. That really blows. Of course, you do get your full rotation, though the jacket gets in the way. Bicep swivel is fine. Double jointed elbow. Pretty good range. So that's pretty decent. Wrists have a swivel and a hinge, of course. Shoulders blow on this figure. That's really unfortunate. Ab crunch on this guy. He can lean forward pretty well. Obviously, the jacket is not designed for articulation purposes, but what are you going to do? So he can't lean back. Waist twist is a basic waist twist. Hips, they kick forward all right. They're not bad. They could go a little bit higher. So it's not particularly good, but they're acceptable. The legs go back a little bit, so that'll help for some posing. And then going out to the side, they put the point of articulation too far in. So when you bring his legs up, this part, not only does the top of the hip right here hit the peg that's holding the leg on, but the fulcrum's too far inside, so when you do it, it hits the inside of the crotch. They just don't design articulation like they know what they're doing. It's really annoying that somebody like me, who is just some guy who designs toys in his basement, knows more about it than they do, or at least gives a damn more than they do. So the hips kind of blow. They're not terrible, but they could be a lot better. Thigh swivel is fine. Double jointed knees. Pretty good range. Pretty good proportioning. So that's a good thing. That helps with the overall aesthetic a lot. I like that. Boot swivel is there. Ankles go all the way back and all the way forward and have a decent ankle rocker. So there are a few points of articulation that kind of suck, shoulders especially. But if you're going to put them in dynamic poses, it's not that bad. You'll be able to get around it. And frankly, compared to most Marvel Legends, there's less to have to get around on this guy than on them. So articulation, I'm only going to give a 6 because of the limited shoulders, because the neck is old, because the torso is not as good as it could be. The hips could be better. Like, there's a lot of problems, but I think it's going to be acceptable. I think when you're putting them on the shelf, the figure itself is more fun. It has more accessories, and the limited articulation isn't going to pull away from that enough that it's going to be a negative experience. I think you're going to be more willing to put some effort into making this guy look good than you would a figure like this, for instance. Like, okay, so can we just talk about this briefly? It's not a Hasbro rant, but these don't look like they're from the same company, but they are. They're both comic figures. They're meant to be displayed side by side, not literally these two figures, but you get what I'm saying. Somebody has to do something at Hasbro about the line, the Marvel Legends line. Whoever is making the decisions is making bad ones. These do not look like they're from the same company and meant to be on the same shelf. It just makes no sense. You guys see the great disparity here between details, between proportioning, between sculpt work? I mean, this looks like it's from some kind of mid-2000s cartoon, and this looks like it's a semi-realistic comic book character. Like, they just don't go at all. Is this a Powerpuff Girls character? I don't know what's going on. Anyway, all right, time to give this guy a final rating. I don't know what people are talking about, other than the specific issues like the shoulders not working. It's still vastly better than almost every Marvel Legends I've reviewed recently. It's a significant upgrade to most of those releases, and it's by far the best Blade action figure, not counting the old Wesley Snipes one just because it had a good head sculpt. It's still one of the best head sculpts at that scale ever. Anyway, this is a solid release for sure. If you're a Hasbro Marvel Legends fan, I don't know how you could not like this one. Strange. Anyway, I'm going to give this guy an overall rating of 9 out of 10 for Hasbro. It's a good one. That's a 9 out of 10 for Hasbro, to be clear, but it is a 9 out of 10 for Hasbro. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, thumbs down will do. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos every day but Wednesday, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.